The distributional impact of the food crisis is shown in this graph, and I suggest you just look at the bottom line from recent work done at our institute. And you see, first of all, the change in the number of in the percentage number of people in poverty is all in the positive direction, means more poor people. More poor people come out after the food crisis, and in the order of magnitudes of 1 to 2 percentage points. That is large for a matter of 2 years, a large change in the wrong direction. For instance, in rural Guatemala, 2%, in urban Nicaragua, about 3% more poor people, absolutely poor people, not relatively more poor people. What does this mean for the overall big picture? Here, for example, shown for Honduras. The two curves which I show here are the calorie consumption curves of the whole nation. And the message which I want to get across with what's happening there is that that whole curve had shifted to the left. So many have less, and a substantial number, in this case about 3%, move across a cut-off point, but others also relatively suffer more. And comparing in terms of numbers, the national level figure on the right-hand side with the other figure shows that households with small children have suffered more, are currently suffering more than national averages. Then we come to another stress symptom, and that is speculation in food markets and the interlinkages between agriculture and the rest of the economy. We have done elaborate work, and I cannot in this brief presentation go into details here, so I'm just flagging the issue. Elaborate work at IFPRI on the speculative component of increasing the spike over and above what the spike would have been if real market forces only would have been driving it. And the evidence is becoming clearer and clearer that speculative forces and ill-designed regulation and deregulation have played a significant role to heighten the crisis. They are not the fundamental cause of it, but to heighten the crisis. And I point you to work which we have published just the last few weeks on that at IFPRI. In sum, the financial crisis and the recession complicates food security, enhances the stress. There is now less capital available today and in the future for agriculture unless we have a real living up to the commitments which have been pledged at the G8 and G20 meetings. I caution you, it's very good that the G8, actually it was 26 nations which signed in Italy the commitment to 20 billion, an incremental $20 billion for addressing food security and agriculture. But today, nobody knows who has committed what, and to what extent the 20 billion is really incremental. So we need strong monitoring mechanisms so that commitments don't stay just on paper, otherwise there will be deep frustration of those who are under food security stress, be they in government or at national level. There's more debt, especially for smallholders. There's a shift, however, of attention of policies to agriculture. And the problem on the labor markets and in the wage, unskilled wage sector in Latin America is particularly severe. And let's look at the next graph regarding the macroeconomic developments. Some key forces are maintaining the stress on food security, and those are the declining overall economic growth rates, the dotted blue line, the leveling off and decline of remittances, and for agriculture, probably most important, the decline in foreign direct investment. These trends are the symptoms of the recession and remain stressful for agriculture and the food sector. Let me highlight with the next set of comments the new and much deeper stress coming from climate change. We have yesterday released a report at IFPRI that points at the climate change stress for the food and agriculture sector and for poor people. On this map of the world and highlighting the situation in Latin America and the Caribbean, you see the consequences of climate change, taking a rather optimistic view regarding carbon fertilization effects of climate change, the consequences for rain-fed corn or maize production worldwide and in the region. Where it is reddish and yellowish, maize yields are going to decline and areas are shifting. The bottom line globally is that we have to expect about a 16% decline in the overall yields and outputs of maize production worldwide, and maize is, as you know, one of the leading world cereals. And the gains in some regions, because climate shifts, are far less than the losses due to heat and drought stress in other regions. So that's where the world food security system will come under stress. It will have price effects, of course. Actually, the story on maize is even less dramatic than the story on wheat and rice coming under climate change stress in the next few decades. The price effects for rice are particularly severe. Just compare the yellow and the red columns. That is the 2050 projections with and without climate change. And you see very large increases in the global prices resulting from climate change only. The